Alright, update on the Turbo Camaro tonight. Wanted to talk about a few things. I had some blow-through carburetor questions, but also just wanted to give an update. So with the rear brakes, that's what we were talking about last. I do have them ordered. I ended up going with the Strange. They were kind of back ordered. Basically the scenario is they are waiting on rotors because of the black oxide coating or something. For the rotors was a holdup, so I should hopefully have that stuff in a week or so, but that was a bit of an issue. No one had them. I ended up going to Strange directly, and that seems to be the quickest route to get them. So there'll be a video coming shortly on installing those and kind of why I went that route and all the different things that go along with that. But with the blow-through carburetor questions, I've covered some of this in other videos, but the questions keep coming up, so hey, I'm going to answer them. So basically this is a CSU carburetor. This is an E85 blow-through carburetor, and it is the dual needle and seat. That's why it has the goofy looking bowls on it, because it has basically 4 needle and seats total. So there'll be one here, and the same in the back. This carburetor's been great. I'm really happy with it. Now, I'll just give you guys the quick rundown of how this scenario went for me, because this question did come up as well. I initially put this combo together, and I went with a Pro Systems blow-through E85 carburetor. And we couldn't get it sorted out. There's a couple reasons in my mind why I may or may not be correct, so I'm just going to give you guys this information. Basically, couldn't get it sorted out with the first one. I want to say that carburetor was like an 850 or 950, so if it was a 950, we went to an 850. If it was an 850, we went to a 750. So we tried a second Pro Systems carburetor. Couldn't get that to work correctly either. It was just kind of kept going lean up top and higher boost, and was really struggling with getting it to spool. So long story short, Patrick ended up kind of helping, or he ended up refunding the money. That's the best way to say it. We were able to send the first carburetor back. He built us another one, send the second one back, and it returned our money. So I don't know if I could really ask for anything more. I appreciated them with that scenario. Just the Pro Systems carburetor didn't work for me. And what brings this up is a couple people I'd noticed in the past I did have a Pro Systems, and kind of keep asking why I changed. So I'll just give you the scenario. Long story short, we couldn't get it to work. With Pro Systems, I've had great luck. Nitrous carburetors, NA carburetors, E85 carburetors on nitrous, all that stuff works great. 4150, 4500 Dominator stuff, their big monoblade deal, I can't remember what that's called, SV1 or SV2, something like that. We've had good luck with all of those. Just with the blow-through stuff and this combination, we couldn't get it to work. A little bit of the problem, I think, was this combination was originally like 8.8 compression ratio, so it was just a pain in the butt to get it to spool. Tight converter, larger turbine housing, just all the recipes to kind of make that a pain in the butt. So, but we were also fighting it going leaner on the big end. So a couple different issues there. We couldn't get it sorted. So what I ended up doing is going to CSU, talked with Kevin. We ended up going with this one. It is in fact a 750, and right out of the box it was pretty good, but still struggled a little bit on building boost on the trans brake pending conditions. So sometimes it'd build boost great, hot weather not so much, and that's always going to be a bit of the issue in my mind with a tight converter, large exhaust housing. That's just what you're going to face. Now with a carburetor, that just makes it that much more difficult. EFI, you can dial it in a little bit better. You have a lot more adjustability in your map. With a carburetor, there's only so much you can do. So there's a lot more, kind of plots in between things you can do with EFI. Well, with all that being said, after the first season with the CSU, it worked well. We made some good passes. I just didn't like how inconsistent it was with building boost, so I ended up raising the compression to like 9.9, 10 to 1 right in there. Worked beautiful. That whole season, carb belt boost great, didn't matter, hot, cold. Tune-up wise, I think I changed the jets in the carburetor like one time all season. it worked flawlessly. So I was super happy with that. That was my best experience in season. From that point, I did have a little bit of issues of a couple times it going lean. Just tune-up wise seemed to be a little bit off with the weather conditions. And then when we changed to the 102 exhaust turbine wheel, we started to come back and have issues again with building boost on hot days. So that's kind of my experience. Now that's why we added the dump valve this year, and that'll help loosen up the converter a little bit, which will help us. And there's no doubt with where the carburetor's set up right now, if I just loosen up the torque converter, it'll spool fine, hot or cold. It's just, I've got a tight converter in it because I'm trying to get as much ET as I can out of it, and that's the way you got to do it, other than with a dump valve. So it is what it is. I like it. It works really well. The only complaint with the CSU carburetor has been I've struggled at times to get it to build boost on a hot day with a tight converter, which honestly doesn't really matter. If it's EFI or blow-through carburetor, you're going to struggle with that a bit. It's just with EFI, you have more ways to tune that and combat that than what you do with a carburetor. It's just a little bit harder. So the simplest answer would be to loosen up the converter a little bit more or add a dump valve. So I added that dump valve. So we'll see how it does this season. I've been real happy with it. We've been getting away with this intercooler. I mean, this intercooler would be too small for this application if it wasn't blow through, so that definitely helps a bunch. Keeps the intake air temps down. I do love the simplicity of it. It's been really good to me. I have no real complaints. I made this video really to kind of get you guys to, or at least help you guys understand what to expect with a blow-through carburetor or a CSU carburetor or just any blow-through in general. It's definitely, in my mind, more work than a EFI setup, but you can argue that because once you have this thing dialed in, man, I didn't touch it all year. Now, same thing's true with EFI, and so you have a problem with the EFI, and a lot of guys have injectors stick and get trashed in the injectors, and I've seen plenty of engines burnt up that way with EFI. So I mean, it's definitely arguable, but it is definitely true with EFI. You put the tune-up in it, it's never going to change unless you have, you know, a mechanical problem like a bad injector or something like that. But with a carburetor, also pretty much the same thing is true, but it is and it isn't, because I've definitely noticed weather affects the carburetor a little more than what I thought it would. On a, you know, we'll say a 60-degree night versus a 90-degree day, there's definitely some adjustment that normally needs to be done, but most of the time you're not going to have that big of a difference in weather changes, and most of the time the tune-up's kind of in the middle range, so if it's a little leaner at night, it's still okay. If it's a little richer during the day, it's still okay. But just want to let you guys kind of understand a little bit about this and what to expect. I mean, transitionally rolling into boost, I have had fits with this to get that perfect, and I'm just gonna be honest with you guys, I don't really care. Like, if I'm rolling on the street and I roll into boost and sometimes it stutters, that doesn't really bother me, because when I put it on the trans brake and build boost and make a pass, it's perfect. And I have tuned it for its perfect cruising, it's perfect rolling into boost, everything on the street is perfect, but then it's a little bit too rich or too lean going on the trans brake. So I've kind of fought little issues like that, and it's definitely, in my mind, whether you're going to have a blow-through carburetor or an EFI deal, if you're making 1,300 rear wheel horsepower, you're going to have to be pretty knowledgeable on this stuff, because I'm constantly tweaking on the carburetor a little bit. I'm constantly doing something, so it's not something I would say I'd recommend go E85 blow through if you've never messed with a carburetor before, because one of two things: you're either going to have to learn, or you're going to be upset because you got to learn. You're going to have to mess with it here and there. So hopefully this helps you guys. I do think it's a little bit simpler if it's like a Pro Charge setup. You don't have to worry about building boost. That's always your biggest battle with these things. But yeah, that's pretty much my experience with Pro Systems and with CSU. I don't plan on changing to EFI anytime soon. I really do like this setup. It's definitely fought me here and there, but like I said, I've known plenty of guys that have the Holley Dominator set up and everything else, and I can think of quite a few that have melted pistons and torch cylinder heads and everything else because of injector problems and wiring problems and things like that. So just because it's EFI doesn't mean it's going to be flawless either. But yeah, hopefully this helps you guys. Hopefully it helps you make some decisions. And if you have any more questions, just let me know. I was trying to just generalize a lot of this and just kind of give you guys an idea of a little bit of pros and cons and a little bit of how my experience went with this. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully this helps you guys. Thanks, and keep it saucy.